Welcome and welcome back to MAPS Tutoring, where we focus on key English exam skills. You will be prompted to pause and have a go at the tasks at several points in the video, so have your pen and paper ready. Today we are going to focus on writer's techniques, and we're continuing with our extract A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, building on the last two videos, which you can watch now if you haven't watched them already. Today's question is, how does the writer use language and structure to create an intense setting? This is how the exam board Edexcel words its question 3 for paper 1. And you are usually asked to focus on a specific part of the extract, not the whole extract, for question 3 on paper 1. And so today we are going to be focusing on the second paragraph from the extract that we've been working with in order to follow the same pattern of the exam. So language techniques are about how the writer creates imagery for the desired effect. For example, imagery, word choices, similes, alliteration, personification. So think about how words are used to create specific images to provoke a specific effect from the reader. Structure relates to the organization of events and the text in order to have the desired effect. Sometimes people find structure quite tricky, but think about how things are put together, how the writer builds a picture like a builder using bricks to build a wall or a house. So it could be how a text opens and develops and ends, order of events, change of focus, change of pace, positioning of sentences and punctuation, and also the positioning of characters. Based on those definitions of language and structure, organize the techniques below into two lists, language and structure. Pause and have a go now. Did you get the following? Language techniques, again, relate to how words are used in order to create imagery. So it's not just individual words, but it could be word techniques like similes and metaphors. And then structure, again, like lists, relate to how things are organized. Shifts in focus, it's about organizing what the reader is focusing on at that time. So now to read our text. In the exam, you should make sure that you've read the question before you read the text so you know what to look out for. We've already looked at the question and now we're going to jump into reading the extract. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather, foggy withal, and he could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their breasts and stamping their feet upon the pavement stones to warm them. The city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already. It had not been light all day, and candles were flaring in the windows of the neighbouring offices like ruddy smears upon the palpable brown air. The fog came pouring in at every chink and keyhole, and was so dense without that although the court was of the narrowest, the houses opposite were mere phantoms. To see the dingy cloud come drooping down, obscuring everything, one might have thought that nature lived hard by and was brewing on a large scale. So the techniques that we're analysing are language and structure, as we already know, but the thing that we're focusing on next is intense setting. That's the part of the question we want to focus on, and this is where our inference and deduction skills are really, really important. So firstly, in what ways is the setting intense? Like I said, we're using our inference and deduction to develop our points. So you are going to pause in a minute and have a go. And I want you to use the example below. Be specific with your inference. So here, the air is brown suggests that it is polluted and possibly dangerous. So the fact that it's possibly polluted and possibly dangerous, those are the specific inferences you are making from the fact that the air is brown. Pause the video now and have a go. The answers are now on the screen, so hopefully you were able to look at the different ways that the writer, Charles Dickens, is creating that intense setting. So it could be the weather, the time of day, the comparison of the houses to phantoms. And these are things that you can spot, they're said explicitly, okay, our deductions. And what you want to be able to do is to make sure that you are developing this and looking at what inference you can make based on those deductions. So for example, the cold, foggy and dark setting means that it's quite difficult to see, which then creates an unpleasant and intimidating setting. So the unpleasant and intimidating setting, that part of that first bullet point, that's the specific inference you should be making. You're developing your point beyond what's obviously stated into a thought, an original thought. So you can pause the video just to review your answers, compare them to the answers on the screen before we move on to the next part. The second part of our analysis, we need to look at the techniques used by the writer in order to create an intense setting. So specifically an intimidating, polluted and eerie setting. Which techniques have been used in the highlighted sections? Use our list from earlier for reference for language and structure techniques. Pause and have a go now. Some of the techniques you may have noted are pathetic fallacy, adjectives, positioning of characters, the time of day, simile, metaphor. And you need to have both language and structure for this question because it explicitly asks for that. So you should hopefully have spotted both language and structure techniques. The techniques on the screen, they're not all the techniques in the extract. You may have spotted different ones, but they are some of the ones that relate to the 4 bullet points that we've been using so far in our examples. Now that we have some inferences to create points and have noted the techniques used, we can start writing our analysis. So plan the points you would pick for language and the points you would pick for structure. Spend about 2 minutes using the points shown on the screen. So pause and have a go now. I have chosen the points in red shown below. Which points did you choose for your analysis? It's completely up to you. Just make sure you're clear on why you have chosen it and exactly how it links to the intense setting. These are the techniques I will analyze in my example response. So pathetic fallacy, listed adjectives, and positioning of characters. Once again, a reminder of our question. How does the writer use language and structure to create an intense setting? So now pause the video and try to write a paragraph for language and a paragraph for structure. Spend 15 minutes writing your 2 paragraphs. In the exam, you would have 15 minutes for the whole question. So that includes everything we've done so far, annotating, reading the extract, reading first, annotating, selecting what you're going to write about and then writing it. So it's quite a lot to do, but because we're practicing at the moment, you can spend more time in order for you to master the skill. So pause the video now and try and write your paragraphs. Remember, include your deduction, your evidence and your inference. So your point, your evidence and your explanation. On the screen now is an example response and it reads, Dickens' list of adjectives establishes quite a bleak setting as he describes it as cold, bleak, biting weather, foggy withal. This creates a setting that is unpleasant and threatening. This is an example of pathetic fallacy because the weather seems to embody the key characteristics of his misanthropic protagonist, Scrooge, who is busy in his counting house whilst people in the court outside are wheezing and struggling to keep warm. The adjective cold may be a reflection of his indifference towards the suffering of others. The foggy weather may symbolize Scrooge's unwillingness to see and therefore sympathize. The description of the weather and the parallels that can be made with Scrooge intensify the setting and make it seem more sinister. Furthermore, the list concluding with the phrase foggy withal focuses the reader's attention on this aspect of the setting because of the emphasis created by the semicolon, suggesting this is a key characteristic of the setting and protagonist. The positioning of the characters emphasizes the disconnection Scrooge has with others because he is inside and the people suffering are outside. The fact that he can hear them highlights Scrooge is aware. However, the fact that he remains busy perhaps exemplifies his apathy. Through the contrasting circumstances of the characters, Dickens is also painting a picture of inequality and unfairness. which emotively contributes to his creation of an intense setting. To show how everything ties together, I have highlighted the different parts of the paragraph that display the skills we have explored over the last few videos. Hopefully you found that useful and were able to work along with me. Thank you for watching. Our next video will be evaluating, so subscribe to keep up with future uploads.